I'm a member of Our Lady of Victory in Northville. I'm the co-lead of a special needs ministry that we have here that's been very active. And through my work at Our Lady of Victory, I was exposed to some work at the diocese level and was asked to join the Special Needs Leadership Council. The Special Needs Leadership Council, in partnership with Catholic Charities of Southeast Michigan, is focused on advancing the ministry, if you think of it, the ministry, the special needs ministries across all the parishes in the Archdiocese.
Sometimes you don't see on the outside what someone might be struggling, whether it's physical, spiritual, or emotional. Everyone who crosses this threshold struggles with something. We all have a cross in life. They're just different. They're labeled different. They look differently, one from another.
There are plenty of children and adults with special needs that interfere with them being successful in a regular religious ed program. They're there. If you provide something, they will come. You will find them, they will find you.
And one of the main areas of our focus and activity in the parish committee is to develop a special needs guidebook, reference guide, and some best practices that can be used across the Archdiocese. The purpose of that is, through our discussions with a lot of the pastors, what we found is that the pastors recognize this is core to their ministry. They recognize that a lot of people with disabilities maybe don't go to church or don't feel welcome in the parish, but they aren't exactly sure what they should do, what they can do to make this a broader part of their core mission. So what we're hoping to do through this process is to share some best practices and give some very practical sort of next steps and suggestions of what a parish can do to make it more inclusive, to include more people with disabilities in the life of the parish.
The more severely impaired the child is, the more invisible they are in society. Their parents are not taking them out everywhere. Kids who have autism, people think they're just not behaving. We'll correct their behavior and not understand how much that's an injury to the child and to the parent to be called out in church in a public place.
As deaf, we often are met with a lot of blockades for us, and I would say people in the church tend to be deaf to deaf people.
The best thing is just to do something. You know, just consider how you can encourage and include more people in your parish.
I was diagnosed with MS, multiple sclerosis, about 8 years ago. And it's a neurological disease that affects the brain. It's a progressive disease in most people, though it responds to each individual person differently.
The Deaf Center is the heart of all the Catholic ministry here for the Archdiocese. We have Mass here for the deaf, for the Archdiocese. We provide religious ed, counseling services, Bible study classes. And this is like the home for the Catholic deaf people for the Archdiocese.
Joyful Community is a no-shush, liturgical, musical prayer service geared towards those with intellectual and physical disabilities, as well as their families. And it's a place where they can be themselves and just celebrate God in a way that's special to them.
When we planned the church during the renovation, I learned that, again, as a person struggling at times with a disability, so often when you arrive in a location, you're kind of told where you're going to be seated because, oh, we removed the front row, so all people in wheelchairs or with canes, you can all sit there. Well, suppose I'm a person who doesn't like to sit in the front row. I like to sit in the back of the church, and we know Catholics love to sit in the back of the church. So if you're a Catholic with a disability, you might not want to be placed right in front of, the altar in the front row.
I think what's important in any ministry for the special needs population is that you empower them to own their own faith.
So one of the things that I was very conscious of and wanted very much to be part of our renovation was that within the church there would be multiple sections that anyone needing access for a wheelchair or a cane, that they could choose the location. There are sections, whether they're up front or in the back, where the pews stop and there's a section of chairs, 6 chairs, so that there's enough for a wheelchair and always enough space for another person who's accompanying that person.
St. Joan of Arc has had a program for almost 62 years. It began as a home-based study. Most of my catechists, I have several parents of our students or relatives, or they've had a neighbor who has had a special needs child, and they're here because they have a true love for the challenged person.
You know, the whole idea of inclusion, I think special needs parents have a much deeper understanding of what that means, or someone with a disability has a much deeper understanding of what that means, and more importantly, they have a very deep understanding of what it means to not be included.
One of the aspects of the program at St. Ephrem is that the parents are also, most of the parents stay for the program. We open with a beginning group activity that include the parents' presence, and then the kids go into individual classrooms. The parents become a support for each other, and one parent this year said that she was so glad to find a program that they were all happy in and that they had found a family. And I think families who have a child with special needs often have a very difficult time finding that family in their own parishes.
One bad experience is all it's going to take to drive someone from the church. If you have a special needs parent, if you're a special needs parent, first of all, you're super sensitive about it anyway. So you bring your son or your daughter to church, they're, you know, whether they have a developmental disability or physical disability, but let's just say, for example, that it's visible that they have a disability. All it's going to take is for one person, an usher, another person in the church to say, you know, shh, or look at you with the, you know, the disdain, the evil eye of, you know, can't you get your child under control look, and you won't go back. A lot of parents won't go back. And no matter how strong your faith is, that is not what Jesus taught us to do.
It's important to give them a place that's their own. And then from there, the kids and the adults can practice and can participate and then can move back into their parish with more success.
My son, Andrew, you know, as I said, he's, you know, developmentally disabled. He's also got some physical disabilities. And people may look at him and think that he's, you know, well, he doesn't know what's going on. He knows everything that's going on. And he notices the stares and he notices the comments as well. And it's hurtful. I think for me as a parent, it offends me. But for him, it makes him sad. It breaks your heart.
Many of our students, we learn from them more than we could ever teach them. People think they don't get it, but they do.
It has been a tremendous gift to me to work with the special needs people. It has made my faith more profound.
To give you an example, one of our students who has passed away, he had closed head injury, and doctors said that he probably was cognitively at the level of a 3 or a 4-year-old. His mom related to me that one day they're in a church and at communion time, he kept pointing at the Eucharistic minister. He said, "I want that." And Mom asked why. He says, "I want to take Jesus home." And that is everything.
The special needs people are not caught up with all the things that we get caught up with. They are about relationship with Jesus. And it takes you to your knees to watch it happen.
We all have disabilities. Some of them are just more evident than others, but having a special needs son has really helped me understand what it looks like to look at the face of Christ.
To see the relationship with God, with Jesus, that is just part of them, regardless of the body or the mind's inabilities that somebody might see. The spirit is never impaired, and it's God's spirit that's whole.
So sometimes if someone's getting up and they're leaving, a part of me always wants to say, please don't leave. You're part of who we are. And if you leave, you take a part of that body of Christ away from us. And you take from us the opportunity for us to learn how to be together and how to be a community.
One of the things that has been such a blessing to me in working in this field is you have to be able to explain God. And in order to do that, you have just got to think yourself, now, what do I really think about this? How do I really feel about this? And then how can I pass that on